The Fortnite Island is being consumed by Chrome, and as each week passes, we'll see more and more of the map conquered by the Herald. They are attempting to bring the nothing to our reality, and while most people have no idea what this is, we have actually had numerous teasers that began 3 years ago. The darkest days of Fortnite are upon us. With the 7 presumed dead and the Paradigm rushing to find a solution, everything is building up to the live event that will end Chapter 3 in early December. And I know that sounds crazy, but watch this entire video and you'll be convinced. What we've learned has changed everything we know about the story, and it all started with the Paradigm investigating the disappearance of the 7. The final members were hiding in an underground lab, analyzing this new Chrome substance, but what they don't realize is that it's already too late. The Chrome is alive and attacks the scientist before consuming him. It then quickly spreads to the Origin, who tells Paradigm to run, but before she escapes, the Chrome does this. There's no time to process what just happened, so she propels out of there while the Chrome continues to spread. But what she doesn't see is a massive tornado. This is actually her saving grace, because it flings her into Loot Lake, allowing her to escape to Reality 659. And let me tell you, this place will play a big role in the future of this season. Watching as the final member of the 7 gets away, the Herald re-emerges, and we get our first look at Season 4's villain. But who is this person, and what are they planning? We were introduced to her at the start of last season, where she was watching the reality tree through an orb. She was secretly manipulating the power of the 0 point the entire time. It cried out for help, sending shockwaves as a galactic distress signal, and brought relics to the island to get the attention of other realities, but nobody came. As the Herald launched her attack, the 0 point's connection to the tree was cut off, leaving it to die, with only the lifeless stump remaining. But why exactly is this mysterious villain called the Herald? Well, a herald is someone who foreshadows or delivers a message that something is about to happen, and this name fits perfectly with the evil backstory that's unfolding in Season 4. The name of this season is Paradise, and we've heard that the Herald is attempting to create a utopia using Chrome. In the teasers it said, it consumes everything. Chrome will consume all, Chrome will be all, and that is exactly what her plan is. The Herald is the most dangerous character that we have ever come across, because they are the entity who's going to end the Fortnite storyline as we know it. For the last week, we've been working with Jones and the scientist's assistant in order to find answers, and that is when they noticed a secret message coming out of the reality tree roots.
Stay safe, and listen, there will be no second chances here. The nothing is...
Paradigm mentions the Nothing, and if you think you've heard this before, it's because Fortnite has been teasing this villain for 3 whole years. Longer than Geno or The Last Reality, the Nothing was first mentioned during the Chapter 1 end event. As we watched the original black hole, numbers began to appear in the darkness, and if you put a number to each word in the scientist tapes, it created this.
I was not alone. Others are outside the loop. This was not calculated. The nothing is inevitable.
For years, we had no idea what the Nothing was, but thanks to Season 4 and clues from the Herald, we have figured out exactly what's facing us at the end of Chapter 3. In fact, it looks like we are just a few months away from the next chapter of Fortnite, but in order to understand why, we need to tell you about how the Nothing connects to The Last Reality, Geno, and even the creation of the 0 point. What we learned will shock you. At first, looking at the Herald's upcoming set, it's called Nothing's Forever, and inside of it, you could find teasers such as the Nothing is Coming, the last light you'll see, and a music pack that says, press play and prepare for what happens next. It's all building up to the introduction of the next villain, but it still doesn't answer the question, what actually is the Nothing? Is it an event, a group, or another name for the last reality? As we know, the Nothing was first introduced by the scientist when he mentioned that it was inevitable, but this was caused by the 7 freeing the 0 point. Luckily, the IO regained control of it in Chapter 2, and this is what stopped the Nothing from being able to spread. Flash forward to this year, and the 7 freed the 0 point yet again, killing Sloan, Geno, and allowing it to heal. With his dying words, Geno says that you have always believed my methods were abhorrent, that you knew a better way, and congratulations, now you get to prove it. I genuinely hope you are right, because if you fail, it means the end of everything. Now his prophecy has started to come true. The Nothing is inevitable once again, but that leaves us wondering what exactly is the Nothing, and to answer that, we have to explore the connection between the Herald and the Cube Queen. With the arrival of the Last Reality in Chapter 2, the Queen brought her Cube army and attempted to destroy everything, leaving nothing behind. Seems like a coincidence until you look further. On October 11th, with the release of the Dune crossover, Donald Muster quoted the author by saying, "Where the fear is gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain." 4 days later, he promoted the new Foundation comic with the words, "Everything changes or nothing." And for the icing on the cake, the reveal of the Cube Queen occurred another 4 days later, and all Donald had to say was, "Only nothing will remain." If you look closer, there were clues teasing this connection before the Queen was even revealed. During Operation Skyfire, we watch as the cube forms from liquid, powering on and attacking us. We're able to shut it down, but once rebooted, the cube turns blue. Everyone knows this, but nobody stopped to think why this happened. It's because the Cube Queen is part of a hive mind and corrupted the cubes, taking over their bodies and turning them into an army. When we shut down Blevin, it was freed from the hive mind. Once revived, it was back to normal, with the corruption removed, and this means that all of these cubes were originally blue. Now we could use this information to learn about the Nothing, and buckle up because this is about to change the way you see the Fortnite storyline forever. If you remember the start of Chapter 2, the item shop included a character named Zero. It was a skin made entirely of the 0 Points energy, and his description was everything and nothing. This reveals that the 0 Point is like a yin and yang. It is made up of everything and nothing at a perfect balance. When it's disturbed, such as Fortnite's live events, it begins to destabilize. If you look closely at the black hole, when we were extremely close to the Nothing taking over, you can see complete darkness in the middle. It has always been described as darkness over the years. So to keep it simple, the 0 Point is made up of everything, which we have seen represented by blue, from butterflies to rifts and inside of the vault, but at the same time, it's fighting for control over reality with something called the Nothing, which shows itself through dark energy, runes, and now chrome. The Imagined Order has been keeping this evil force at bay for thousands of years, but every time they lose control, it begins to consume. It takes over. If that happens, it will quite literally consume everything until there's nothing left. I mean, Epic seriously brought out the wordplay on this one. It's why we see the Cube Queen crush the butterflies and abduct the Spire. It is also how we draw a direct line between the Nothing, the Cube Queen, and the Herald. Both the Queen and our latest villain are very similar. They both spread corruption, rule from a throne, and have brought the end of reality to the island. If you're wondering why the Herald looks like a reality flower, it's because she was created by the Nothing, aka the dark energy inside of the 0 Point. People like Bites were able to enter the darkness and were corrupted by the chrome. In return, their powers were called the Nothing's gift, and the Herald has this same ability. For years, we tried to look at Fortnite's storyline as a battle of the elementals, but we were looking at it all wrong. It was never as simple as the fight between the Seven and the IO. The storyline is secretly everything versus nothing, blue versus purple, and most importantly, light versus darkness. They've existed alongside each other for thousands of years, but now that Geno has been defeated, there's no one left to keep the balance. The Nothing is coming, and the Herald is here to make sure that happens, even when that means she will be consumed as well. It also explains the biggest question that people have right now: what happened to the Seven? Judging from the trailers, it looks like they were consumed by Chrome and possibly died. But now that we know what the Nothing actually is, it's safe to assume the Seven are part of the Chrome. The Herald Sanctum might even be made of them. Jones and Paradigm are desperately trying to save them and control the Chrome for themselves. The answer is in the science, which brings us all the way back to Reality 659, of course, where the Paradigm traveled after escaping the Herald. I suspect this reality is her homeworld, which she said was technologically advanced, and this made her uniquely qualified to pilot the mech. If she has returned home, she could make use of this tech, and we already saw this in the trailer, where we spot the Paradigm holding an unreleased weapon. This brings us to the future of the storyline, where we have a confirmed live event at the end of the season that is going to be huge. With the Seven gone, there's nobody left to stop the Nothing, and once it arrives, it'll be the end of reality as we know it. There's only one person we can rely on, and that is Geno. He was revealed to be alive after all, and could make a last-minute appearance to save the island. This is all building up to the next chapter of Fortnite in December. It'll bring us a brand new map known as Asteria, which has been leaked to arrive in Season 23, aka next season. Just like the end of Chapter 2, we are faced with a villain who wants to consume reality and be the only thing left standing. In Season X, we had the end event, but stopped the Nothing just in time. In Cube, they tried again. It was also called the end, and we prevailed. Looking back, we have been facing the same villain for 3 chapters and had no idea, and now it is returned. But this time, the Seven aren't here to save us. There's a lot of debate over Chapter 4 and if it's real, but I truly believe that the storyline is now entering the final stages, and 5 years of buildup is reaching its climax. What could Chapter 4 include? We may have to defeat the Nothing for good, but I hope to see some kind of prequel story. Asteria was an ancient Greek goddess who transformed herself into an island, and I'm not kidding, it's pretty on the nose. But it gets even more shocking when you find out that Apollo and Artemis were actually born on this island. If you didn't know, these were twins, but more importantly, they are the code names for the Chapter Chapter 2 and 3 maps. Is this hinting that Chapter 4 will take place in the past? Will we learn more about Geno and how the Imagined Order was created? There is a young version of Geno in the survey leaks, that's all I'm gonna say, alright? But as always, we'll have to wait and see. This has been Tommy, keep it here on Top 5 Gaming.